All right, so we're going to go ahead and move into the modules. The activity tracker is where all of those emergency responses are going to happen. Let me do last month so you can see some good data. We're looking at data that's actually from a live department. They let us use their data for demos. So this is actually stuff that they've placed in, and they do have an IMC connection. So this is what that looks like when StationSMARTS grabs it and it fills all this in for you. So they didn't do any of this. This is all that from that connection to IMC. And this is just going to keep updating. So the record gets created on the first one that IMC drops. And as IMC drops updates, they're just going to be sitting there. When it does its 5-minute check, it's going to bring in everything that it sees. It's going to update this individual record. And then once the dispatcher has a close time entered, which is this information right here, then StationSMARTS will close the call. Once the call is closed, then you'll be ready to do your NFIRS reporting, which is done through the NFIRS processing screen. So this is only for closed calls. The reason that we do that, when you start your NFIRS report, which is actually a separate form, so you can see here, this is the ticket that the dispatcher record creates, and then this is actually the NFIRS report that you guys would be filling out to submit to the state. So it's actually two different things in StationSMARTS. So what we do is when you create the NFIRS report, we actually copy over as much as we possibly can. So we want the NFIRS, the emergency response over here, to be closed before you open the NFIRS so that all the information can be copied over. If you're in the middle of the incident, you don't have all the times yet, then when you start your NFIRS, you'd have to fill those times in as what, copying what the dispatcher had, and we don't want that to be the case. So NFIRS isn't available till the call is closed, and then you're going to be doing NFIRS reports from this NFIRS processing screen. Now, we're going to look at a complete one just for the sake of time. Typically, there's only 5 required fields left by the time all of that copying is done. And it only takes less than a minute to copy everything. So this goes really, really fast. And this is real-time error checking. So as you do things that cause an error, it's going to update there. So for example, let me just take something out here real quick so you can see what that looks like for the error checking. All right, so actions taken is missing. So we can see up here that real-time error checking is telling us that there is one field that's required by FEMA, and it's telling us the section and the name of the section so that we can go take a look at it. And all those required fields are going to show up green so that you have visuals that they're required as well. If you do something that causes an actual error, then that's going to cause immediate feedback within the system as well. So you can see here, that's not allowed because that's before the alarm time. So we're not going to let you do anything that causes a mistake in the error, and you can see that error checking summary now has that new section as well. So all that error time checking is just following along with you as you do things through the system, and it's going to update as you meet all of the requirements. Typically, the first field that you have to fill in is the incident code. For the incident code, we've given you the reference use, and this is actually the full NFIRS documentation, just in row format by code. And we've given you the long description as well as the short description. And we also added a field for you to give your own fire department comment as well. You have to do it through system setup. It can't be modified here, but it is available for viewing and searching in this view. So if somebody has questions, or if you have somebody that chooses the wrong code over and over and over for the same incident, then you can go into that code on the fire department comment and say, stop choosing this code, use this code instead. And then we've got the code search here. So if somebody's not comfortable with NFIRS, they're just getting started, you can search up to 3 words, and it's going to search across all 3 of those fields. So if you have a code, maybe the FEMA descriptions don't really give a really good description of it, or they don't mention that particular incident, you could put that incident in the comment and they'd be able to search on it. So for example, 140 is the code you're supposed to use for mulch fires. That was a NFIRS gram that was sent out a couple of years ago, but none of the documentation here actually says mulch fires. They excluded that from the documentation. So what you could actually do is put in the fire department comment, use this code for mulch fires. And then all they have to do is search for mulch here, and they're going to see the code 140. So that's just a good example of how you can use that search. So there's a lot of helpful things in there to help you get the code chosen. Once the code is chosen, the special studies fills out. Now the NFIRS special studies is already a thing. You guys are probably familiar with special studies. The FEMA required study that everyone's having to fill out is already there. That's required until the end of this year. But we have expanded the special studies, so it's actually, you're able to define your own questions as well. So if there's something in particular that you want to know about your runs, you can create a special study question. It's unlimited options in the system setup on what you can do there. You decide what the study's called, and that's what that study ID is, and you decide the values that they can pick from that. And then it's a real quick pick from the list, so they can answer them very quickly and move on. The actions taken is the next typical required field, and as you can see, I had deleted a couple, but we can answer those very easily. This is unlimited, but the first 3 get reported to the state. So if there's one down at the bottom that needs to be reported, you know they want to see it. We do have the number change there, so you can stick them up towards the top. There is a reference use and a code search specifically to the actions taken as well. So if you're not comfortable with what to choose. The resources automatically fills in. Property information, if it's available in the property record, automatically fills in. And we do give you a link out, so you can actually open in your web browser a link to your GIS or assessor. If you need further information about the property, then you can get to it quickly from one click there. If the record is connected to one of your property records in StationSMARTS, and we give you links throughout the form, that's going to give you information from that property and give you a direct connection to the property as well. Section I and J will automatically fill in if the property record is filled out, so you can see that it's answered there. So when we create the NFIRS report, it fills in here. So we don't have to worry about answering those questions. You answer it one time in the property and you're done. We also have a direct connection to the contacts as well. So this is actually property contacts. So if you come up with a new contact while you're doing this incident, you can actually add it directly here. And it's going to be available in the property record. It's going to be available in all of the inspections, and it's going to be available on future NFIRS reports. And all you had to do is add it in this one portal. If you wanted to use that contact in the link down below, you just click the pencil and we'll copy all the related fields down to their specific fields in the form. The next session that actually isn't required, but most departments do require their members to do it, is the narrative. We call it the remarks section based on the NFIRS descriptions. We do give you templates that are available for this piece. An example of a template would be something like this. We could have essentially cue cards in the narrative for pieces of information that they need to provide. But you could also have something that is the actual wording that they use over and over. So we have a couple of departments that say, every time we go on this particular medical call, my narrative says exactly the same thing. All I'm changing is the apparatus that responded and the hospital we took them to. So you could put that comment in one of these remark narratives. You just insert it, you change the pieces that need to be changed, and your remarks are done. We saved you some typing. So a couple different ways that you can use it. And these remarks can be brought in automatically when you choose the incident code. So if we chose a structure fire code 111 or 113, then this would automatically copy into the remarks for us. We also have a place for you to bring over the details from the dispatcher record that got created, that emergency response record in the activity tracker. Any narrative that the dispatcher provided is available in that record, and it can be inserted easily from this view. We also have supporting remarks. So this is kind of a step above on the narrative. If you have someone that's not writing the NFIRS report that needs to provide a remark, somebody witnessed something, or maybe the deputy responded and he wants to give his own version of accounts, you can have as many of those as you need to. The great thing about these is that they are personal to your department, so you can leave them internal. They're not public record unless you uncheck that box. And then you can uncheck the box, print it, and it will print on the public record PDF that we provide to you there. But as long as that's checked, it is private to the department. At the end of the form, we copy over all of the apparatus and personnel down here at the bottom, and we fill in as much as the authorizations as we can. Typically, the assignment information there as the shift commander is actually the piece that they have to answer, and the rest of it actually gets filled in depending on what's on the duty roster record and on other setup pieces. Once all of the forms that are required say complete, just like this, when they close the form, they're going to get the ready for review option, and they're going to choose the person that's going to be approving it. The approval process is not required. Once you get to this ready for review state where all questions are answered, there's no errors in the form, this piece here says complete, you actually are already meeting all of the state and federal requirements, and we're going to be able to send it to the state as is. You don't have to worry about that. But we do provide an approval process. So if you want to be a little more picky about making sure they choose the correct code, give you the right narrative, for your purposes, then that approval process is available. On this view, we have that little R that's letting you know remarks do exist. And once there are remarks, you can see the code they chose, actions taken, and all of the remarks that they gave, including the piece that was in those supporting remarks. So you can see all of that information in one place as well. In order to approve it, you can actually go straight to the form. We put the signature portion at the top as well. As long as you just click that report authorization, you're going to get the same piece. You don't even have to scroll through the form. And then you can choose your name to set whether it's approved or not. If it's approved, you just click continue, everything sets to approve, and you're done. If there are problems, you can say it's reviewed, but it needs action. Here are the problems. We can fill those in by the form that got filled out, the section, and giving a comment. And you can actually send out those comments to them, letting them know that their report was not actually good, and these are the pieces that they need to fix. And it'll go out to whatever their contact information is in StationSMARTS in their employee record. So this could be a text message or an email, and they're going to get notified of that information. You just click send and they're going to see it. The great thing here too is that once it's set that way, when you open the form, it's going to automatically pop up for them as well. Now there are NFIRS controls on who can open forms, who can start forms. I am logged in as highest privileges set, so I can do a lot of things that most typical users aren't going to be able to do. But just so you know that is available, it is going to control who can open those once they're approved or even in the ready for review state. We have 3 different privilege options. One is assign, which means you can change this name, which it can only happen if it's a brand new report. So let's see if I have a new one. Let's do this month. Yeah, so here, this report hasn't been started yet, so we could reassign this to someone else if we needed to. So that is one privilege set, the person that can change who it gets assigned to. The next is starting a form and being able to actually fill it out. So this is another privilege set. That would allow you to start the form and write it. But if the form is not assigned to you, then you can't open it. And if, actually, I think that's basically the privilege. Whether it's approved or not, if the form isn't assigned to you, you can't open it. We actually have right here on the main menu is the NFIRS status view. You can choose a date range, or if you leave the dates empty, it'll actually give you everything. And if you know there's someone in particular that is not completing, you can actually pick a particular person's name, and then it's only going to be their reports that are assigned to them. But then this is going to give you, it's going to be the list of everything. So you could run this at any time, and it's going to show you who it's been assigned to and what state it's in. And this is something you could send out department-wide to say, hey, check this report, make sure reports are done. You can also do notifications through a couple of different ways. So if there's a report in here that you know is not getting done, you could actually send out a notification to say, hey, write your report. You can determine what this date range is. So some departments say, well, because of their shifts, having them only see one day at a time doesn't really work, because then when they come in for their next shift in a week, there are reports that were at the end of the shift last week that they didn't finish, but now they don't see them because they're on a completely different week. So you have, a choice in the system settings. How wide do you want this range to be? And if they're staying caught up on their reports, then it's still going to be a very short list, no matter how big the range is. But you can also filter by person here, and there's a system setting that will let you set it as well. Actually, I think we do it automatically if they choose the NFIRS button here. So you can have this set up where basically it looks for their name, it looks for the date range that you guys want them to be responsible for. So it could be a full month, and it's going to show them everything not started, still in process. We could actually take out the ready for review. Reviewed needs action.